Well, my initial thought about 4 was that I didn't want one person's strength to require the sacrifice of the others. So a lot of times we make the hero look stronger by making the heroine a damsel in distress who needs to be rescued, because it makes him look stronger. Or the reverse sometimes happens, where you want the heroine to seem strong so the hero looks weaker. But I don't think that's necessary. I think there can be 2 strong people, but they have to be complicated people also, otherwise they're just not good characters. So with 4, initially, his strength is sort of obvious, and I wanted to take it away in certain ways throughout the rest of the series, because I don't know, I think it's important to show that he's a human being. He's not just like man candy. He drives the plot also. He makes big mistakes, and in the second one and in the third one, big mistakes. And I think that that's important in the same way that it's important for Tris to make big mistakes, because she is a young person trying to figure out what to do, and so is he.
I think sometimes there's just this desire to see the love interest arrive like fully evolved. Like, he's loyal, he's self-sacrificing, he's brave, he's all of these things, but that doesn't really leave any place for them to go.
Right, and I remember with Siege and Storm, whenever, I don't want to spoil things that came out not that recently, but anyway, and I remember telling you I just wanted to punch Mal. Because he has like an identity crisis on the page. It's hard to watch, but at the end of it I was like, I feel like this is a very normal thing for this person to be experiencing. Like, everything is coming apart, everything is changing, and his role is no longer as certain as it was. So he's freaking out, and I think that's, I don't know, it's a powerful thing to see a character do, not just the main character, but the people around her.
Well, I think that, again, I've heard that I want to punch Mal a few times.
Oh yeah, just a little bit.
That's all right. Sometimes I want to punch him too, but I think that that's a normal response. Like, I think that it isn't comfortable to see people struggle, and I see this in the discussion of heroines sometimes too. I think because we write YA, there's a feeling that there's a greater burden on us to create paragons as opposed to characters. I get this question a lot, so I'm going to throw it at you, but was there a message? Is there a message you wish that people would take away from the series, or was there a message in your mind when you wrote?
I find it very odd that people expect, I guess I don't find it odd, I guess I understand, but I don't like it, that people think that because it's YA, it should have a message more than other books, because I think the opposite is actually true. Because when I look at the young people that I get to interact with on a daily basis, I think the last thing that you need is for me to stand over you with this message, shaking my finger and telling you what to believe, because it's actually scary to think of people who are still forming themselves and to be someone who's like, I'm going to teach you how to live. Like, that's...
Which is kind of a big theme in the book, actually. Yeah. People being like, we know the right way. Yeah, this is how it's going to work.
Like, for me to sit there at 22 years old or 21 when I wrote this book and to say, I know what you should think about life. It's like, no, I don't know what you should think about life. You should figure out what you think about life. And hopefully books will help you to ask yourself questions and to guide yourself to figure out what you think. But I never want to be the one saying, this is it, this is the definitive lesson. Because I don't know the definitive lesson.
But I found, when I was writing my series, I didn't know what the themes were until I stepped away from them. You write the story, you write the plot, and then all of a sudden you step back and there are things that creep in there from your life.
Well, a theme is different from a message.
Yeah.
But the theme is, you're right though, that the themes just kind of seep out of your brain when you don't mean for them to. What am I actually, wow, did I say that?
Yeah. I'm going to touch on something. So I have a friend who shall remain nameless, who read your book as a Christian allegory. She was she read the acknowledgements first.
Oh no. It's not good to read the acknowledgements first.
She does it with everything, it's really weird. Yeah, you should. But this is why I don't like author photos either.
It's don't imagine me.
No. But she read the acknowledgements first, and then she read the whole thing as this kind of anti-evolution thing, and I was like, Veronica, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. When you do have the situation where you have erudite in this kind of negative capacity, later you have these people, you know, like Kara, who break away from that and who are, you know, presenting knowledge in a less negative capacity. But I wondered about like the way you chose to structure the world and how you felt about that. Or is she right?
She's not. Just to clear the air. Not an anti-evolution tract. Sorry. No, I think that's an interesting thing to point out, especially when we're thinking about like how things can appear on the page without us knowing. Because at the time when I wrote the first book, I was experiencing a little bit of intellectual elitism in the people I was around, who I never told anyone I was writing young adult books, but I would hear them say disparaging things about people who write young adult books all the time.
This was in college?
This was in college.
I'm shocked. Shocked.
Yeah, I loved my school and I loved my teachers and my classmates, but they just had this prejudice against writing YA. They thought this is something people do when they just want to make money, like this is not what intelligent people write. Intelligent people write adult literary fiction. I don't know how this like, kind of perception developed, but I don't like it. And I was encountering it a lot. And so I think one of the ways that like that crept on the page was that the erudite are slightly lacking in nuance.
No, you also payload and like.
Yeah, but what happens with Galen? But then, once I realized this, throughout the course of the next two books, it was important for me to have characters who were erudite, who were very smart, who were committed to, you know, developing their intellect, who were really good, making positive contributions to society. So Kara is one of those, and then in the third book there are several. So I think it's interesting to realize how much of your brain just like appears in the book, and parts that you really like wow, I'm so glad that thing I think about, the thing I care about appeared on the page. But then it's also like, oh, I'm so sad that my issues appear on the page.
For everyone to see.
Yeah.
Did you ever deliberately write somebody into a book?
No, I can't do that. Do you do that?
Yes.
You eviscerate people in fiction?
On the regular, actually.
I'm not gonna ask you.
Veronica Roth was it? No, I do, and sometimes I put like I have, you know, David and Jenya in the books. Like I have two friends.
It's Jenya? I've been saying Genya for like 3 years.
Sorry, a lot of them.
Fine, I'll change it now. It's like Hermione. Hermione, man.
Can I join you in? But I have two friends who I really want to get together in real life, and I basically wrote them into the book. I was like, I should.
No, I can't. I don't know, it's creepy.
What about like I don't know what you mean. I'm the puppet master. So what about like the fear landscapes? Are any of your fears in there?
I'm afraid of like everything, so I feel like no, really though, I'm really afraid of heights. Not like in a way that I need treatment for, thankfully, but I think it made it easier to write Triss's like not being afraid of heights, because you can still create, if you're terrified of heights, you can always feel what it's like to be up high in your mind, and you can put it on the page. So, you know, when she's like looming over the side of the Hancock building, hanging from a sling, I was like, oh God. So it was easier to put on the page. But really the fear landscapes happen in the reverse of what you might think. I wrote the scene because it seemed creepy, you know, whatever it was, whether it was like the crow attack. I hate swarms of anything. Even kittens, too many kittens. I don't want it to happen.
Do you know the image that creeped me out the most from the fear landscapes? There's a moment where a bird comes out of her mouth. Do you remember this? And I was like, you are a horrible lady. It's brilliant.
I don't think pot, meat, kettle, Jenya, seeded storm. Don't even talk to me about certain imagery. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, so I just wrote the creepy thing, and then later I figured out what it meant about the character, and because I wrote them first, they were able to kind of retroactively form the character throughout the course of the book. So it's kind of a weird backwards way of approaching it.
I'm sort of curious, we've talked a little bit about this, but in building, I mean, the romance between Triss and Four, I think is really beautiful.
Oh,
but even though some things go wrong, you know, But like, do you get, or like, how does that work for you?
I have a book crush on Stormon. Like in a big way. Like someone kiss him. I don't care if it's a man, a woman. I don't care. Just kiss him, please.
So maybe some kissing.
Okay, yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah, but no, I think what I look for, I mean, I think is respect for the heroine is a big appealing, like that's hot, man. Like man respecting woman, yes. Give me more.
I like that you said it though in caveman voice. That man respect woman. Sometimes make a dinner.
But one thing we've talked about, I think, in your heroes that's important to you is competence. And I also find that to be very attractive. But can you explain competence is sexy for the lovely people here?
Well, I mean, the way I sort of came to that was not in thinking about love